Hi, I'm Caleb from Schultz Ford. Today we're going to talk about range. So the biggest thing with EVs is range anxiety. Not having enough range to get where you need to go. So I'm here to kind of make that simple for you. So the biggest question we get is, if I'm going on a long road trip, I'm not going to have enough range. You're not going to have enough gas either. I mean, you're going to have to stop at gas stations, just like you're going to have to stop at charging stations. Another thing is, people are like, I know where gas stations are. They're along the highway. I don't know where charge stations are, which is a valid point. It's not a very standout thing along the highway unless you're paying attention. So what makes it easy is in the nav system here, and I'll pull over to show you, but you can plug in your trip and it'll plot out what charging stations you need to stop at and how long you need to stop there. That way you don't have to worry about running out of range. So looking at the center stack screen here, I'm going to plan a trip to Cincinnati, Ohio, just to show you, how it'll map out your charge stations and what it means. So as you can see there's a giant circle around where we are. That circle is your range. So right now I said we're at 76%, which it's chilly outside. It's 49. Battery hasn't been warmed up yet, but this is what it's showing our estimated ranges. So that entire circle, it looks like we can get to about the middle of Ohio. So let's see, let's go to Cincinnati, Ohio, and we'll hit go, and it's going to calculate all the charging stations along the way. So chargers are being added to the trip.
Obey traffic laws. Be alert and use voice commands while driving.
Total trip time, arrival, 2 chargers. So I planned the trip to Cincinnati. We're looking at where we are in Pittsburgh there. It looks like we're stopping about halfway to Columbus, and then we're stopping in Columbus, and then we're making our way to Cincinnati. So, the stop in halfway between Columbus and Pittsburgh, it's going to be a fast charger, 150 kilowatt. There's 4 chargers. It gives you information about each charger you're stopping at. So, like I said, that circle there is what we're estimated to get in range, from what our current state of battery is right now. So, if we charge up to 100%, we might be able to make it past Columbus. And it's all about how you drive too. So, driving is very important in this. If you're heavy on the pedal, then it will decrease your range. Another good thing about road trips, so if you're driving, once you get to the charge station, your battery should have warmed up by then, and it will make charging a little bit faster. So this stuff will update in real time as you go along your road trip, but it takes that ease of mind. Well, it gives you ease of mind, I should say. So you don't have to worry that much about range anxiety because it tells you where to stop, how long you need to stop. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom into this first charging station. It's probably just at a rest stop. There's a country club there. And the one in Columbus, like I said, they're not going to give you chargers that are way out of your way. They're going to give you stuff that's relatively close. And it looks like this charger here, the more we zoom on it, looks like, there might be a place to eat, stretch your legs, while your vehicle charges. So yeah, plenty of food places around this charger. Plenty of food places around this charger. So, while your vehicle charges, grab something to eat, like you would on a regular road trip. And then once you charge up there, it says to charge up to 81. You can charge up to 100, but charging, I'll get into why that wouldn't make as much sense as to just charge to 80%. So once we do that, it'll plan our entire trip to Cincinnati, right? So this ring here, it keeps growing because I'm plugged in currently. I'm at an EVgo charge station. So that ring continues to grow as I stay charged in, which I don't think most people grasp how much range this has. If you look on the charge we have now, we could make it halfway through West Virginia, even up into New York. So we talked about planning a trip, but not everyone takes massive road trips every weekend or every day. So what about everyday driving? So what I did was over 3 days, I calculated, how far I drove, how much battery percentage I used, and what the range depletion was on my cluster. So on the first day here, I drove 78.8 miles. I used 37% battery, and my range depletion was 94 miles. I also put the temperature as well. So, when I left, it was pretty warm, but when I left again, it was pretty cold. So, next day, I drove 81.6 miles, still used 37% battery, and my range depletion was 93 miles. Temperature as well over here. And then on the third day, drove 78.6 miles, 37% battery used, and my range depletion was 94 miles again. So what I did was I averaged them out. So I averaged over 3 days, I drove about 80 miles per day. Each day I actually used 37% battery each time. But 37% battery, and my average range depletion was 94 miles. So what can we do with that? So what do we know? We know that the battery on the vehicle is a 70 kilowatt usable battery. Batteries charge up to 100%, and 1% is equal to 0.7 kilowatt hours. So we get that calculation because, if you look at a 70 kilowatt battery, every 1% is 0.7 kilowatt hours. We also know 37% to go 80 miles. That's up here, so you use 37% to go 80 miles. So what can we do with that? So if we take 37% times 0.7 kilowatt hours per percent, it'll give us 25.9 kilowatts to go 80 miles. So the percents cancel out there. So 25.9 kilowatts to go 80 miles. So if we take 80 miles divided by 25.9 kilowatt hours, it'll give us 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. So that's a pretty good efficiency. You'll see that on your cluster as well, like how much, what your fuel economy is kind of in an EV. It'll say like, 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. So over those 3 days, I got about 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. If we take that figure and multiply it by the size of the battery, which is 70 kilowatt hours, it gives about 217 miles of range, which surprised me. I drive mostly highway. I drive about 90% highway, 10% city. So I was expecting to see a lot less. So let's look at the window sticker for it. So, on the window sticker, it estimates I get about 224 miles of range, and I got 217. So 217 is our actual. Like I said, I drive mostly highway, not city. And if we look on the window sticker, highway MPGE is a lot lower than the city. That's due to regenerative braking. I got into that in the last episode. But the range estimate on the window sticker is simply just the size of the battery times the efficiency. So this is in a controlled environment. What I did was real world environment. I actually drove it for 3 days and calculated it out. I was expecting to get 181 miles of range based on the efficiency. What I did was I just calculated the MPGE for highway, which is 86, broke it down into, there's quote unquote 2.1 gallons of electric in this 70 kilowatt battery. So 2.1 times 86 was 181. Like I said, I was expecting to see that on the range based on what the efficiency says on the window sticker, but I did get a lot more than that. So you can do this value for yourself if you want. If you have an EV, you're wondering what your actual range is, just kind of follow the steps there and do the calculations. But a lot more than what I was expecting. All right, so let's talk about range a little bit more in depth on, how I should be driving maybe, or what to look out for. So, if you are a lead foot, which some people are, especially Pittsburgh drivers, see them on a daily basis, then you're not going to get the most out of your range. It's plain and simple. If you're easy on acceleration and you're very easy on braking as well, because as I'm coming to a stop here, I'm going to ease on the brakes. It's going to use my regenerative braking. So you're also going to have the one pedal drive mode, which is, I'm not going to say it's similar to regenerative braking, but it kind of is. Both are going to use your motor as a generator to replenish your battery. So you can recharge your battery as you drive by how you're braking. You want to recapture as much energy as possible because you want the most out of your range. Plain and simple. So if you're, a fast accelerator, because these cars are fun. They're instantaneous power. When I step on the accelerator, it goes immediately. So that might not be the best for your range. Let's talk about weather as well, because that's another main concern. What weather is going to affect my battery? So they tell us anywhere below 40 degrees and above 90 degrees. So your battery, just like a person likes being comfortable, you're probably not going to be comfortable sitting outside in 30-degree weather in shorts and a t-shirt. Or you're not going to be comfortable in 95-degree heat with a winter coat on. So batteries are kind of like that. The best way to kind of combat that in the wintertime is you have it plugged in at home, let's say. We're going to precondition the vehicle. So preconditioning and remote start are kind of different. They're not the same thing. Preconditioning is going to be, hold on, I got to get over. So preconditioning and remote start are not the same thing. Most people think, preconditioning just means, acclimating my cabin temperature to what's comfortable for me. It's more than that. It's preconditioning your battery as well. So you get the most range when your battery is at a comfortable temperature. Say you're running a marathon. Would it be easier to run a marathon in 30-degree weather or 60, 70 where you're comfortable running? Same with a EV or a BEV battery. It does not want to be super cold. It likes being warmed up. So when it's warmed up, you get better range. You also get better charging times. So, when you're on a road trip, you stop somewhere, you charge up, your battery's already warm, so it's going to be able to take in a little bit more power. So, you might see 150 kilowatts for charging, which I'll get into the next video when we go into charging. But, you want to get the most out of your range as possible. So I hope that gives you a better understanding of EV range, how to increase it, what affects it, a little ease on the range anxiety with showing you how the navigation will map out what charger you need to stop at and how long you need to stop there. It's a great feature on these. There's also other apps. I'll get into that in charging, but I hope that eases your mind on range. SchultzFord.com.